John, it's really cool. We got a brand new show theme. Good to change things up.
Oh, absolutely.
And not only do we have that, normally I hold up one page of show notes, but we've got two of them. Welcome everyone to once again to another episode of Two Noobs Talking with my buddy John Tracy. I'm Matt Craig. John, how you doing, man? What's going on?
No, we're down. We're on the downside of the podcast with 26 coming up now.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We're getting old.
Episode 26. Can't believe it. It's like it's just flying by. It's been a half year since we've started this thing now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And we have new theme music, and we've got, like I said, we got these pages of show notes. It's like, what the heck's going on here? We just keep going and going and going, right?
Absolutely. Let's get into this because
let's just dive right in.
Yeah, this is a ton.
Yeah, we got a ton. Did you know, John, that when the founders wrote the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, that it was really just a carrot, for us to kind of grab at freedom, kind of go, oh my gosh,
yeah,
gotta go get it, right?
Yeah, because we're technically not free. Yeah,
but we're technically not free.
We're not free.
I mean, I don't know if this doctor is now bought and paid for, like the quack.
Probably. Oh, probably.
But we're just. Why don't we just go ahead and play this clip? Because this clip is utterly hilarious.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Clear to them that the vaccine is the ticket back to pre-pandemic life. And the window to do that is really narrowing. I mean, you were mentioning, Chris, about how all these states are reopening. They're reopening at 100%. And we have a very narrow window to tie reopening policy to vaccination status. Because otherwise, if everything is reopened, then what's the carrot going to be? How are we going to incentivize people to actually get the vaccine? So that's why I think the CDC and the Biden administration needs to come out a lot bolder and say, if you're vaccinated, you can do all these things. Here are all these freedoms that you have. Because otherwise, people are going to go out and enjoy these freedoms anyway.
I have a challenge for all of you. Go to.
I love that guy, by the way. Mr. Beast is awesome.
I know. I don't know what to say, but
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's laughable. Especially sit next to that douchebag, Chris Cuomo.
I would say. I mean,
he's the second worst Cuomo.
I didn't realize that my freedoms were held out like a carrot. It kind of reminds me of that old Geico commercial with the old fisherman. He's holding up that dollar. Oh, you almost got it.
That's exactly what it is. It's exactly what she is saying. He's literally saying that. He's like, we can't botch the opportunity to control. She's an idiot. Oh my God. I can't believe she said that on national TV.
Well,
I know they're thinking it.
But here's the thing though. It was said on Chris Cuomo's show. So we have to this is the bottom of
I know only 7 people saw it. That's why
no one saw it. Thank God. But it's like we're bringing it to everyone's attention just to give you that little bit of nugget of information of these people that there is, I suppose there's an end goal, but how she said it was not exactly what you're supposed to say in a free society.
Yeah. That's terrible. But saying that, I mean, literally on national TV, that is awful. You got up and planned that?
Yeah.
Nobody was like,
room.
Nobody was like, that's a bad idea. I'm confused. Nobody checked that. You got producers, executive producers. You have presidents of CNN.
Yep, signed off.
It just seems like Chris Cuomo said, "Yeah, we're doing it," because he's an idiot. So he would definitely do something.
Well, you see it in his face. So that entire clip, he's just staring at her, going like that. It's just like,
where is it?
Blank stare. It's like
literally be like we're doing a podcast, right? And Matt, you're like, I'm going to say the most outlandish thing. Yeah. And I'll be like, oh, whatever. You can do whatever you want. No. That's not how TV works.
Yeah, exactly. It's just crazy.
I'm just going to say something outlandish. That is that is unbelievable. In a pandemic, this lady says that.
Yeah, it makes me wonder.
We have to link vaccination status to reopening.
Yeah, to reopening and freedom. That's the key. She said we have to link it to freedom. And my question is, freedom from what? Your authority or the virus? And it's like, the virus comes and it goes. I think we've seen that happen over the course of this
already.
pandemic.
Yeah, totally.
But for you to say that it's dangling out in front of a carrot, it's like, here you go. You almost got it. You almost got it. Get out of here. Get out of here with that.
Yeah,
It's like, it's so ridiculous. It's like, and I think we should, why don't you throw a screenshot one while we're at it, John? Because across the pond, they're like, I love Great Britain. I've never been, of course, I've been to the Netherlands. I've said before on this podcast, but I love Europe. They're sophisticated. They're somewhat sophisticated, more sophisticated than Americans.
Yes.
Chris Whitty is essentially the equivalent to our quack. He's like our CDC. He's like Britain's CDC director or National Institute of Health director. He has far more integrity than Anthony Fauci. And the reason I say that is Britain, I think it was about a week ago, said we're not locking down our people anymore. We're basically treating COVID like a seasonal, really bad seasonal flu, John. And just highlighting out here from this article, and we'll have this again in our show notes. It's from the UK Telegraph. This is Chris Whitty talking, quote, COVID is not going to go away. You've got to work out what's a rational policy to this. And here I would differentiate quite a lot between a pandemic environment and what you get with seasonal flu. Every year, somewhere between 7,000 and 9,000 citizens die of flu, most of them very elderly. And every few years, you get a bad flu year where 20 to 25,000 die of it. The last time we had that was 3 years ago, and no one noticed it, end quote. Thank you, Chris Whitty, for having the balls to say this.
That's sensibility. It's an uncomfortable conversation, but it's a conversation that needs to happen.
Yeah. 7,000 to 8,000. I mean, and we're not writing those people off. I don't want that to be misunderstood.
It's never the case. Like me and my wife were talking about it today. Any death should be mourned.
Yeah.
It's not a joke, but the power struggle over these people's death is what needs to be pushed out, because these are the bad people.
And
you're not bad because you got COVID.
Yeah.
You're bad if you took COVID and made money off of it, a la Cuomo.
Exactly. Here's another thing too, John. I think this whole thing, I was even thinking about this just this last week and even today. It's really just, I think, the idea of like, we're throwing around all these numbers, and the fear is, oh my God, you're trivializing the deaths, and
yes,
we're not.
And that is not the case at all.
The biggest takeaway I think for us is this is devastating. Death is a devastating thing.
Yes,
and the more deaths that happen, the worse it gets. So to say that we're minimizing it and therefore we're going to treat COVID as not as serious as any sort of other disease that comes across the pike.
Yeah, it's not at all.
Not at all the case. Not at all the case. It's still a devastating disease.
Yeah.
It's still something that takes people's lives away. It has taken the lives of 500,000 of our own citizens over the course of this entire year-long pandemic. But again, I want to emphasize this, John. It's never been as bad as it was forecasted, which was going to be 1 million to 1.5 million in a year. That's what we were forecasted. And that's what, not speaking for you, John, that's the problem that we're addressing in this podcast, right?
I agree. We were told something way more than it is. And my whole thing is the corruption around the whole thing. That's what I focus on, because you never know. Like this is why I talk politics and I talk the 2020 election, because we have to remove these people, because we can't have a scare like this again. Like, it happens in 4 more years. Well, we better have normal people in charge that can be like, okay, like they're doing, like you see it happening. We talked about it.
That's such a great question.
Texas, Florida.
Yeah.
There's smart people that know now how to handle this, and they're going to handle it well.
What I'd like to know is, what's the Biden administration doing to protect us going forward in 10 years?
Nothing.
15 years?
Nothing.
Are they going to just sit around and just blame it on their political opponents, or are they actually going to do something?
No, they're not.
And I'm not holding my breath. Don't get me wrong.
No, trust me. You could, because
I want to breathe.
Yeah.
But it's like, but that's a huge question. It's a huge question for anything. You cannot be caught flat-footed. And that's what we were. That's what the world was. The world was caught completely flat-footed over this, but especially here in the United States. And people profited off of this, which is even more outrageous, as we've talked about this, of course, in various episodes as well. But let's go on a little bit on the brighter side, a little bit early, John, because
classic footage.
With all this talk about the quack down, the quack that's running the National Institute of Health and all the other stuff, and the whole wash your hands and social distancing, I just wanted to play this beloved 6.5 minute clip.
Yeah, bear with us.
A little vulgar, but you know what?
It is.
This guy was a comic for his time and for our generation.
We need a good laugh.
We need a great laugh. George Carlin.
It's just one more way of reducing your liberty and reminding you that they can fuck with you anytime they want, as long as you put up with it. As long as you put up with it. Which means, of course, anytime they want. Because that's what Americans do now. They're always willing to trade away a little of their freedom in exchange for the feeling, the illusion of security. What we have now is a completely neurotic population obsessed with security and safety and crime and drugs and cleanliness and hygiene and germs. There's another thing. Germs. Where did this sudden fear of germs come from? In this country. Have you noticed this? The media constantly running stories about all the latest infections, salmonella, E. coli, hantavirus, bird flu, and Americans they panic easily, so now everybody's running around scrubbing this and spraying that and overcooking their food and repeatedly washing their hands, trying to avoid all contact with germs. It's ridiculous, and it goes to ridiculous lengths. In prisons, before they give you a lethal injection, they swab your arm with alcohol. It's true. It's true. It's true. Well, they don't want you to get an infection. And you can see their point. Wouldn't want some guy to go to hell and be sick. It would take a lot of the sportsmanship out of the whole execution. Fear of germs. Why, these fucking pussies. You can't even get a decent hamburger anymore. They cook the shit out of everything now because everybody's afraid of food poisoning. Hey, where's your sense of adventure? Take a fucking chance, will you? You know how many people die in this country from food poisoning every year? 9,000. That's all. It's a minor risk. Take a fucking chance, bunch of goddamn pussies. Besides, what do you think you have an immune system for? It's for killing germs. But it needs practice. It needs germs to practice on. So listen. If you kill all the germs around you and live a completely sterile life, then when germs do come along, you're not going to be prepared. And never mind ordinary germs, what are you going to do when some super virus comes along that turns your vital organs into liquid shit? I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to get sick, you're going to die, and you're going to deserve it because you're fucking weak and you got a fucking weak immune system. Now, God damn it. Hey. All right. Let me tell you a true story about immunization, okay? When I was a little boy in New York City in the 1940s, we swam in the Hudson River, and it was filled with raw sewage, okay? We swam in raw sewage, to cool off. And at that time, the big fear was polio. Thousands of kids died from polio every year. But you know something? In my neighborhood, no one ever got polio. No one, ever. You know why? Because we swam in raw sewage. It strengthened our immune systems. The polio never had a prayer. We were tempered in raw shit. So personally, I never take any special precautions against germs. I don't shy away from people who sneeze and cough. I don't wipe off the telephone. I don't cover the toilet seat. And if I drop food on the floor, I pick it up and eat it. I eat it. Yes, I Even if I'm at a sidewalk cafe in Calcutta, the poor section, on New Year's morning during a soccer riot. And you know something? In spite of all that so-called risky behavior, I never get infections. I don't get them. I don't get colds. I don't get flu. I don't get headaches. I don't get upset stomachs. And you know why? Because I got a good, strong immune system, and it gets a lot of practice. My immune system is equipped with the biological equivalent of fully automatic military assault rifles with night vision and laser scopes. And we have recently acquired phosphorus grenades, cluster bombs, and anti-personnel fragmentation mines. So, when my white blood cells are on patrol, reconnoitering my bloodstream, seeking out strangers and other undesirables, if they see any suspicious-looking germs of any kind, they don't fuck around. They whip out the weapons, they wax the motherfucker, and deposit the unlucky fellow directly into my colon. Into my colon. There's no nonsense. There's no Miranda warning. There's none of that 3 strikes and you're out shit. First defense, bam, into the colon you go. And speaking of my colon, I want you to know I don't automatically wash my hands every time I go to the bathroom, okay? Can you deal with that? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. You know when I wash my hands? When I shit on them. That's the only time. And you know how often that happens? Tops, 2, 3 times a week. Tops. Maybe a little more frequently over the holidays, you know what I mean? And I'll tell you something else, my well-scrubbed friends. You don't always need a shower every day. Did you know that? It's overkill. Unless you work out or work outdoors or for some reason come in intimate contact with huge amounts of filth and garbage every day, you don't always need a shower. All you really need to do is to wash the 4 key areas. Armpits, asshole, crotch, and teeth. Got that? Armpits, asshole, crotch, and teeth. In fact, you can save yourself a whole lot of time if you simply use the same brush on all 4 areas.
Only a face your mother could love.
Just
Man,
fantastic.
he was great.
I mean, what makes that so awesome is the truth that he spouts in that entire monologue.
And the fact that he's entirely over the top the whole
Exactly.
time. You know what I mean? Like, he's great. He's always been one of my favorites.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites too. Just, I mean, I every time I play that clip, I look at a Fauci and I just like, you idiot, you're so full of it. And it's like, if Carlin were alive today, he would be leading a charge against this guy.
Oh God,
against Fauci and just ripping him to shreds.
Oh my God, I'd love to see that. That would be hilarious.
That would be unbelievable. I love the fact that he was swimming in the Hudson River in the 1940s, getting swimming in raw sewage.
He's so over the top. He's great though.
Just great. We thought that would be just awesome and kind of just put things in a much better perspective. It's like sometimes you get just so bogged down into everything that's being taught. It's great to laugh at this sometimes as well. And love it. Absolutely love it. So, John, why don't we move on to the Fab Five, shall we?
Yeah, we gotta.
Yeah.
This is that conversation that moving on with the Telegraphed. This is the PA lawmakers. This was I believe early March.
Yep.
They decided to do this. We found this article because the headline doesn't say anything. It's the opening of the article that is crazy because I didn't even know that they knew this.
Yeah.
I didn't see this article, and when you sent it over, I was like, "Wow!" So they're talking 12,000 coronavirus deaths occurred in long-term facilities, which represents half of the state's fatalities.
Yeah, and that was as of last month. Yeah,
that's nuts.
Yeah.
That's absolutely nuts.
That is Andrew Cuomo type policy right there.
Yeah.
And good on the Pennsylvania lawmakers. Again, we have the link to this, PennLive.com. It's a terrific article. They are looking into this, and rightfully so, because when you put someone with a COVID positive test in a long-term care facility with people that do not have a weakened immune system.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're gonna say.
Yeah.
And the Fab Five's good at this.
The Fab Five has certainly been good at this. And people are saying, oh, what's the Fab Five? Well, the Fab Five is a moniker John came up with. I love it. Phil Murphy, Tom Wolf, Andrew Cuomo, Gretchen Whitmer, and Gavin Newsom, all governors, all Democrats.
Yes.
But all of them have had very questionable, and that's being charitable, very questionable approaches into how they are dealing with flattening this curve with the COVID pandemic. And what it turns out to be was that most of these, so we haven't investigated Murphy yet, but I think
sure he'll be up soon.
3 of them for sure. Whitmer, one, we throw Whitmer up while we have it up here, John. Wolf and Cuomo for sure. And now Whitmer, another member of this Fab Five, she's also being looked at for
good old Gretchen
over nursing home policy.
We knew she'd be there.
Yeah.
We knew very well she'd be there.
No, absolutely. So there was this
same executive order that Cuomo had.
Yeah. We talked about that last week, John, about the PA executive orders reducing it down from 90 to 21. Currently, right now, it's 90 in the state of Pennsylvania, 90 days, I should say.
Yeah.
And that's way too long. I've made that point last week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It's like we need it to be 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe max, but it's like you can't continue to go 90, 90, 90, 90.
No.
And then all of a sudden you have a year and it's like where's the accountability? So this was 2 big articles that we found. John, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, just overall.
It's just more the same with the Fab Five. I mean, they're all criminals. They all did criminal things, and they all are slowly starting to face these things that they did. I mean, I honestly don't. Well, I mean, not to say that 12,000 deaths isn't a bad thing, but Wolf isn't as bad as some of the other ones. I think Pennsylvania did a really good job of kind of harnessing him in during this.
Yes.
Quickly. Pennsylvania did a great job of kind of much better than some of the other states. I think also with Murphy, like Jersey was able, you had that gym that was fighting constantly, the New York gym and the Jersey gym, they were fighting. Cuomo, Moore, Whitmer, Newsom, they went a little bit more overboard, but definitely for what Murphy and Wolf did, they deserved to be in the Fab Five.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think what Wolf did early on was good. The problem was he wasn't listening to the legislature, which consisted of both Republicans in the House and the Senate. And it's a typical swing state here in Pennsylvania. You could have a Republican governor and Democrat, and then it's vice versa now.
It works well. The swing state does actually work really well.
Yeah. I mean, in that regard, yes. But when you have a pandemic, you can't play politics and this kind of thing. You need to be on a united front. And clearly there was not a united front when it came to this. And it was almost like there was a mistrust happening between the governor and the state legislature. But if you're the governor, you cannot say, well, I'm going to not trust my legislature. I'm going to go on my recommendations and my inner cabinet. You don't go and base your wisdom off a child psychologist as your lead health officer or whatever. I mean, a child psychologist in an epidemiological event here, you can't have that. That's just not going to work. And then on top of that, I should also mention this too. The rollout of the vaccines up here have been atrociously bad, particularly in the southeast corner of the state. All 4 of the counties surrounding the city of Philadelphia have complained royally up to Harrisburg. That's a failing at the Wolf administration. That's a complete failing of him to not have the adequate supplies needed to get the vaccines out the door.
Absolutely.
I've already said too much.
Oh no, you're fine, because I can just back up your point with the vaccine rollout in Texas has been smooth.
Yeah.
It's pretty much like already it's up to whomever needs it can get it.
Yeah. Now, I
Already.
will say, like, it took them a while, but it's going to be made available to every Pennsylvanian April 19th.
Yeah, but still, that's ridiculous.
But that should have been done 2 months ago, or at least a month ago, minimum.
Yeah, no, I do know that they did not handle that properly.
Yeah.
But I mean, except it's what do you expect from the Fab Five?
Not
You know
much.
what I mean? Like not much at all. Like really not much. They are consistently inconsistent.
Yeah.
It's exactly what they are. That's what they've always, and then you know what? They're all not going to have a job coming up soon.
Oh yeah. And it's going to be critical. I mean, it's like, you've got Whitmer under fire. You've got, maybe not so Murphy. I will say Murphy has kind of just like, he's taken the lead and kind of, I think there was one time he did appear on Fox News and had a pretty decent.
Yeah, I know. I don't hate him as much as the rest of them. I mean, it's a bad word, but I'm saying, like, but the way Jersey handled it in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
He definitely, and that fifth spot in the Fab Five could always be altered.
Absolutely.
I mean, did you see the great Lori Lightfoot in Chicago get booed at opening day? Oh, they don't like her at all.
They don't like her at all, and rightfully so, because she's famous for saying don't go to a barber to get a haircut.
Yep.
And what does she do? She heads to her own salon to get one.
Yep.
Oh, well, I'm the face of Chicago. That was her response to why she was getting a haircut.
So we can intertwine it. Also, I think it was the governor of Illinois. He went to Mississippi to visit his daughter when he locked the state down.
Denver mayor.
Oh, it was the Denver mayor. Sorry.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Mayor. Yep, totally locked the state down and then flew to Mississippi.
Flew to Mississippi to visit the family and Thanksgiving. Yep. And didn't wear a mask, by the way. So, I mean,
awesome. Great job. Yeah, so, we know them all. We're watching all of them.
We're watching all of them.
We know where they are. Oh,
my gosh. It's crazy. Yeah. But, I mean, another thing, too, if you're looking to sub in a Fab Five, John, if we're going to sub out Phil Murphy, just, for the fact that if we're going to replace one, I think we ought to think about looking at the president, because
I got a prime candidate for you.
Yeah. What's going on down at you're on the border, obviously, a little bit north of the border, obviously, in Texas.
Middle of the state, but the border ain't that far.
Border's not that far. But yeah, I mean, why don't we go ahead and throw up that screenshot, and I'll let you go ahead and just read this, because this is really sad.
Yeah, there's a ton of information still coming out. San Antonio, which I live in around, there's some allegations coming out of this same stuff in these facilities. It's not good. It's not a good look for anybody. And Abbott, thank God, is standing up and saying something, because as you see with he's demanding the White House take a closer look at this San Antonio facility Wednesday, following allegations of sexual assault. That's from what I've read. I'm not completely through everything. From what I've read, it was employees of the facility. Oh, jeez.
And this was kids being sexually assaulted by people that were working at the facility.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's just not, shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
And Abbott is going 100% saying that it is the open border policy that is causing, I mean, it's not causing
per se,
problems, but it's not helping them either.
Oh no, of course not. Yeah. I mean, you made the mention on the podcast I think was it last week, you said that one of the facilities was, I think it was during the Trump administration, they had like about 2,000 illegals.
Yeah, 2,600, and then it was 15
6 times that amount. Yeah, it was like 12,000 people. Yeah, 12,000 families.
15,000, I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a significant number, and it,
I mean, I understand. We had I'll just go with this. Okay. We had a really good contention for the happy story. And one of them was this lady who came to the country a couple years ago, that she finally got her citizenship, and all the kids in her school where she was an aide at were clapping for her while she was walking down
walking
the
down the
hallway,
halls, and
which pulled at my heartstrings. And I pulled at your heartstrings because when I sent it to you, you were just like, yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
Like nobody, I don't think anybody, left or right, nobody is saying you can't come here.
Yeah.
It's this ridiculous non-immigration policy that this moron has, which, by the way, his head of the border is stepping down at the end of the month in disgrace. Read that today too.
Yeah, that's something, because that
step down.
And I'm glad that's happening, because first of all, that's unbelievable too, that was probably within 90 days that guy was on the job, and he's already stepping down out of disgrace. And that goes to show you something.
And from what the Border Patrol agents had been saying, and what Cruz was saying and Kennedy was saying when they were down on the border, this wasn't like this 6 months ago.
Yeah.
It was not like this. This has been since he was elected president.
Yeah.
And even what was it? The president of Venezuela said it wasn't like this before.
Or Mexico. It was Mexico
and
that said it.
I think both of them. Yeah.
Both
I think
of them?
it was two different presidents. It was no way the border was this bad.
No. Well, there are people, not just Mexicans, but we're talking people from Honduras. We're talking people that are walking and hitching cars and wanting to come to the country because they are not finding opportunities where they are living in their own country. Yes. And they see the United States as the potential that, they're coming out of the pandemic. Maybe I've got a shot if I can just make it.
But the make it is the catch and release. It's not the going in, getting your papers, getting documented, passing the test. That's not what they're doing. They're doing the catch and release, because if you get caught by a Border Patrol agent, with Joe Biden putting the catch and release back in, that was during the Obama administration and during the Clinton administration, during the Bush administration, we can even go further back if you would like. But all of these had catch and release, where if you get caught by a Border Patrol agent, you get released.
Yeah.
You give it a court date.
Yep.
And you never have to show up.
And you never have to show up. Yeah. Yeah. And this kind of goes like, this has been, to your point, this has been a problem of ours for the 30 some odd years. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if we had a Congress that actually could do something and actually pass legislation that can help the Border Patrol down there.
Yeah, they definitely need help.
It's like, you can't just talk about it for 30 years and not, does that not sound familiar? We have a president who in 40 years didn't really do much of anything in his entire career other than talk. And it's like,
he's good at it.
You better, when you run for president, you better damn well have a good idea of what you want to do and act on it. You cannot just say, yep, open border, go right ahead.
You know that thing, Matt. That thing. You know the thing. Matt.
Yeah, that thing.
You know that thing.
Yeah, I know that thing.
He's an idiot.
You got to go over there and do the other thing in order to do something else, to do the other thing that's over there. And
Corn Pop was a bad man. He can't even speak. So I don't even care. I'm not making. You know what? I am making fun of him. Forget it. I am. I'm clearly making fun of him.
Exactly. But yeah, it's also sad too, because it's like, these stories. It's
the people.
It was heartbreaking to me when it was like, you hear the stories of like kids. Can you imagine if you're like 2 years old?
Yeah. And
it's your dad. You're with your dad. And you're trudging through Mexico, these badlands of Mexico, getting to the United States. There will be good stories that come out of this, but
I hope so.
You're 2 years old and you're trudging through sometimes the dark of night, making your way up, walking on foot, whatever the case may be. And you're malnourished or whatever the case. It's just like, it's sad. And that killed me. Like internally, that was like,
absolutely. But
you gotta be kidding me with this.
The thing also to the realization you also need to have that this isn't just families trekking over. This is human trafficking. This is how human trafficking works, and that's
100.
That's how it works. It's
and sex trafficking too.
There's
sex trafficking as well.
A ton of books about it.
Yeah.
And
that is a huge issue that nobody talks about.
With open borders, it makes it so easy to do it.
And that is a humongous crime. I mean, that's one of those crimes that you never hear about talk.
And you can't even fathom
Yeah. And
how
that
big
happens.
it is. Yeah.
I mean, that I'm sure happens across not just our border, but across the entire world.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And no one talks about it. I remember
Yeah.
there was one video.
There's some numbers that are just insane.
Yeah, there was one video. I think Tim Tebow has been, former football player, with the
Aston Kutcher
Broncos or
also.
whatever. Yeah,
Aston
he
Kutcher.
has really taken on the mission of human and sex trafficking. He
Good.
really is his mission to address it head on and to help
That's awesome.
women that have been physically abused, mentally abused, and sexually abused
Yeah.
through human trafficking. And some of these girls are like 12, 13 years old, and they're scarred for life. It's almost like they're scarred for life.
Hopefully.
And they almost have to be rebuilt back into society.
Yeah, and our taxpayer money should be going to that, and not
Gender studies, right?
Yes, or Cuomo, or
Yeah.
Whitmer, or any of them. I think that just wraps it up. Or Fauci that gets paid more than the president.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can we're bringing this to light, because it's this is a huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I've done a bit of research. The numbers are huge.
Yeah,
they're huge. It should be something that be brought to light. If we can find anything else, we'll put them in the show notes.
Yep.
Because I mean, the more we know, the better we can be.
Yeah.
With this.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a thing, and that's why we got to kind of talk about the border. It's important to talk about the border, because it's not racist people going, you can't come into the country.
Yeah.
It's overrun at this point, and it needs to be put back to what it was 16 through 20.
Yeah.
It was well organized. It was much better. There's been countless. This isn't just me having an opinion. This is countless Border Patrol agents have spoken out on this. Like, it was easier 9 months ago.
Yeah.
We had funding. We had people that cared. We had a facility. Now everything is overrun. It's terrible.
Yeah. During a pandemic, that's the thing that gets me too, John. Like the fact that you said it was like 6 times 12,000 people down there.
How
many of those have COVID? How many of those, haven't been vaccinated? How many of those are really ill?
Oh, the numbers are from what I saw in a couple of videos that the senators put out. The numbers are astronomical.
Yeah.
So
we're hoping, good on. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's good on that guy to step down. I mean, that's step one.
That is step one. But step two is the vice president that's in charge needs to do something.
Yeah. You might want to finish the wall on the border. That might be a big start.
They say that they might. They might do it. I don't know what that means. Anything from the Biden administration. He's got his hands full with gun control at this point. He's not paying attention to the border. Which makes no sense.
Which is, I don't know what stricter gun control laws are to begin with, to be perfectly honest with you, John. It's kind of like Colorado has strict gun control laws. Chicago has strict gun control laws.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to argue gun control. I've never known how to argue gun control, but I do know one thing: an executive order from banning a clip that you put on your AR in your arm is probably not good gun control. That
I would think so. Yeah,
he banned the thing that you strap. Someone told me that, and I was like, "What? Like that was what he? Yeah, that he banned that thing. It attaches to the gun and attaches to your arm. You're not allowed to have that anymore. That has nothing to do with the gun.
That has nothing to do with
gun. Still shoots.
Yeah."
I don't know much about it. I'm just like, I was told that. And I was like,
and how do you have
why would you ban that?
How do you have your police with rubber bullets?
I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
So it's just, we'll have to dig down a little bit more, but
I try not to get upset about things I know nothing about.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I don't know what he's doing, but he doesn't seem like he's doing a good job. That's all I can say.
Just remember, this is the guy who also wrote the 94 crime bill, and that didn't exactly work to plan. So
that is the worst bill I think ever written.
Midnight Basketball, John. That's what it was all about, man.
There really is not. There's not a bill that's any worse than that bill. Nobody knows it. Look it up. Oh my God, it's terrible.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
John, did you know, transitioning away from this, did you know that Major League Baseball has moved their All-Star game from Atlanta?
Oh, it's great. It cracks me up.
But you know what, though? They moved it to a state. Now, I mean,
Yeah.
they had every right. You know, the commissioner doesn't have any testicles, as I mentioned last week.
Yeah, totally.
But he
did a great job.
Yeah, he ended up moving, I think, the game from Atlanta to Denver, Colorado. Now,
Colorado. Yep. Yeah, we know a lot about Colorado.
we do know a lot about Colorado.
They have stricter voting laws than Georgia does.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yes, stricter. Way stricter. And shorter time to vote. Yeah. Even shorter windows. Yeah. Yeah. Denver, Colorado. It's funny that when I laughed out loud of just the idiot hypocrisy of it. Like,
and NPR had like this article of like, oh, well, it's different. You know, Colorado's voting ID laws are totally different from Georgia. And I'm thinking to myself,
yeah, they tried,
and they, no pun intended, they swung and missed because they have
absolutely
the Colorado ID voting laws. That's the thing. They have ID voting laws.
Yeah.
You have to present an ID when you vote.
Yes.
And that's the argument that Georgia was making. It's like, if you're doing this, if you're asking for an absentee ballot, you've got to show me a photo ID first.
I don't think anybody that listens to us has a problem with this law.
Yeah.
You know,
it's so funny we mentioned this because I had a friend of mine on Instagram post like this amazing list of like when valid IDs are required. And there's like a laundry list of ID of all the times you need it. It could be anywhere from a passport to transacting with a bank. It could be anything from driving, boarding an airplane, which we mentioned before, buying liquor, buying cigarettes, joining a gym, applying for a hunting license, applying for a fishing license, obtaining Medicaid, getting a prescription, all those things. The only thing that they say that it's not required is when you get a ballot.
Which makes no sense.
Makes zero sense whatsoever.
Maybe that's how idiots like Joe Biden get in the office.
I suppose, but it's like, why is that the one thing? You had that great question last week. Why is it just the one thing that we don't have the ID on, right? I mean, it's like, what the heck is going on there?
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's just amazing. But I think also, too, let's transition away from that because there was this article, I think you have it on your screenshots, this idea of boycotting.
Mm-hmm.
John, this is Rand Paul, right? And we both love and hate Rand Paul.
Oh no, Rand Paul's like a great human being, but he's a nutcase.
He is nuts.
He's a flat out nutcase. He is so right. Not right as in right, right as he is
way to the right.
He is the equivalent of AOC, if people don't know who he is.
Yeah.
He's the right version of AOC. He's off his bleeping rocker
sometimes, yeah.
But I think he's a doctor and he's a very well-spoken person, but he's off his rocker.
Yeah. When it comes to something like this, the Georgia House, of course, in response to Major League Baseball moving the All-Star game away from Georgia in response to this, I keep thinking about that, John. Side note, that's just the dumbest thing I've ever.
It cracks me up.
It's just so stupid.
Cracks me up. It's almost
equally as dumb though is this: Georgia Republicans request Coke products be banned from their offices. Why? Because Coke got into a hissy fit and joined with Biden in saying, "Hey, we agree with the president."
And real quick, let me just catch people up that don't understand what this is. Okay, so Bongino talks about this all the time, which, by the way, congratulations to him. You're a radio host now. That's awesome. Super, super proud of him. He's going to do great.
He's on the Rush.
He's going to fill in Rush's slot. I'm super happy for him. Like, I'm not a 100 fan on him, but I do listen to both sides. So I'm really super proud. Just beat cancer and then gets the job of a lifetime. So, I like to see everybody succeed. So, hey, big ups to him.
Yep.
But he talks about this all the time, is the separate economies between the right and the left, because you can't blah, blah, blah. And he talks about the boycotts and the boycotts, and you always have to fight against the left. And that's where this is coming from. And this is as much bullshit as banning Mr. Potato Head because his name is Mr. It's the
or
same
banning
thing.
Aunt Jemima because
It's the same thing. It's the left versus the right. It's the bullshit that normal people have to deal with.
Yeah.
Because as soon as something happens, you can't think about it logically. You have to, I'm going to boycott this, or I'm going to take this away, or I'm going to. It's so dumb. That's that's why.
Explain to our listeners, because you had the great. I mean, and Bongino talks about this boycott.
Yeah, boycott.
Just mention it. What is that? Like, tell us.
When the left cancel culture cancels something,
the
Republicans buy it. So it's the what was it? The Goya? Yeah, it was the Goya.
The Goya,
the last biggest one.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh well, she can't be representing. And then Goya gave the
rockets. Yeah.
Yeah, they gave the employee of the month to AOC. Because she said something bad about it, which was hilarious, by the way.
Yeah.
I love funny Twitter, and that's funny Twitter.
And that's funny Twitter.
Funny Twitter.
Yeah.
But yeah,
My
that's where
Pillow would be another one. The My Pillow
yeah.
CEO guy. You know, he was also, because I think Trump invited him to the White House or something like that in a visit.
Yeah.
And the My Pillow guy was like, "Oh, this is great," the whole bit, and everybody was like, "Oh, we got to cancel him. He's terrible." And
he's a huge Trump supporter.
Yeah. My Pillow shoots up with sales and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
that's all that is. It's just it's a Hutch Windsor in it too. Candace Owens, all the good. Even though I like Candace Owens a lot more than I like the rest of them, because she's smart. Like, not saying they're not smart. She's just super smart.
Yeah, she's taking on Cardi B, which is like, and she's
good for her.
Good for her, absolutely.
Good for her.
But yeah, I think the larger point. I wanted to kind of just touch base on that, because when you really stop to think about it, that doesn't, the country is founded e pluribus unum, out of many, one. Yes. That's what that phrase means. Yes, and so when you have something like, well, I don't agree with this political cause, therefore I'm going to go down this particular road and support these people. That doesn't unify the country, John. That's
weird. It's weird.
And that's, and you hear it on both the left and the right, and I think it's on the extremes, don't you think? I think it's on the extreme wings of each side.
I don't think many people. I honestly, I'm not getting up when you cancel Coke on the right. I'm not like, I gotta buy more Coke. I'm not like, I don't think that way. I'm not like, oh Goya, like I need to buy beans right now because someone said something on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the middle who we talk to, talking about the rest of the ridiculous. It's definitely it's the fringe side.
We talked a couple weeks ago about, like, I may disagree completely with Starbucks.
Yeah.
In terms of their political
absolutely.
views, thoughts, whatever the case may be. But you know what? $4 coffee, mocha, I'm going to have it. I'm going to treat myself.
Yeah, you like it.
I like it. Similar to you. If you don't like Target, if it's Target, something that you disagree with that, but in a pinch, if you need towels, where are you going? Right?
Yeah. I mean, I hate what Target stands for.
Yeah.
I still shop there. Because it's easier to get to. Like, it's convenience.
Yeah. Walmart, same deal. Walmart is the same thing. It's like, we may disagree, and I haven't shopped at Walmart for years, and that's not because of their politics. It's because they're crap. They're just a big Kmart, basically. Now
it's exactly that. Well, that's what they did. They put Kmart out of business.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah. But I mean, I heard that argument, just to have an additional thought on this. I heard that argument from people, like, even prior to 2016. Well, we have to, we've got to meet the left, and we got to defeat the left in every single possibility, or I got to defeat the right in every single possibility. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And I'm sitting back there. What do they do? What do I mean by that is, what do boycotts really do in the end? It doesn't help anybody.
No. And that was a great, we talked about the greatest question of all with the John F. Kennedy assassination. What would happen if we had a conservative Democrat? how great would the country be?
You
Because
know,
we had one.
I love you brought that up because it's like, let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
go a little
very
off
interesting.
script.
If you had someone he was a Democrat, he had Democratic policies, but he also had Republican policies because he was a conservative Democrat.
Yeah.
It's funny. We need that. That's what we need.
It really is amazing when you stop to think about 1961 with that speech. We're going to go to the moon, and ask not what your country can do for you, as what you can do for the country.
Yeah. Some of the it's why he's idolized by everybody.
Yeah. And it's amazing that, you know, if he does not get assassinated, what does happen?
What changes? Yeah, what changes come? It's something. It's just a good think point. You know what I mean? Before we get into the happy section, just a good thinking. Like we talked about it, and it kind of blew both of our minds when it was brought up. I was like, wow, what actually? Yeah, like if you like history, wow, like
that's a great dichotomy.
What would it be like? You know?
Yeah, it's a terrific what if, because it's like if you stop to think about it, 1960s. There were raucous times. Let's stop to think about that.
Very anti-government.
But then there was also the civil rights movement. You had that happening while this was all. I mean, I can't even imagine what it must have been like in the 60s. My God,
I know.
But you know, say he goes throughout his terms. I'm sure you do not have the Republican way off to the right. You don't have a Barry Goldwater anymore.
Most likely not.
And you certainly don't have a Joe Biden now, or a Barack Obama now, you know, in this time frame.
Yeah,
I don't think you would.
I think it would be a whole different political structure. It definitely would be. I don't think that people over the course of time would have got into politics, because politics would have went a different way, because it would have been more to help the people.
Well, here's my other question then, on top of what you just said with JFK, John. Where does Reagan fit on in all of this? Ronald Reagan, because you know he came in the early 80s.
Absolutely the most hated, most loved president. He was Trump before Trump.
Yeah,
he was the most loved
without social media.
Exactly, he was the most loved and most hated. The media hated him. And same thing with Trump. Like the media hated him, which is, I mean, it is what it is. When you have free thinkers, people are going to hate you.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
But I'm just thinking, like, well, not just in terms of that, but where would Reagan fit in all this if you had JFK finishing out 2 terms, let's just say? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, he probably never would have ran.
Yeah.
Because he was running to kind of do what Kennedy did. Which is weird. So or he would have ran before. Yeah. Or you would have had 8 guys.
Yeah.
Different people. Like it's the same thing. It's a butterfly effect.
Well, it's also interesting too, because it's like everything. California too, if you stop to think about that, was also a blue state a lot. And then, you know, Reagan comes in, but he was slowly building that revolution, and he took California, and California experienced like a tremendous turnaround in their own state's economy under his leadership. And then that kind of just launched, you know, into the 70s, and that just launched them right into the presidency.
Yeah. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. Wow. It's one of the, it's such like, that's a big conversation that I don't think we have time to talk about really.
Exactly. But it's such a great think piece. Yeah, I love that.
It's so funny.
Funny.
Maybe we'll just put it in the show notes at the very end to just make everybody think about it when you read
it. Yeah, exactly.
What would happen if Kennedy was, you know, not
if he had finished it out. Yeah, exactly. Wasn't killed.
Crazy.
Well, let's go to the happy segment, John, because I think you found this just tremendous article. We don't have any videos or anything like that, but
no, this is just great.
Yeah, you want me to read it?
Local one for you.
Yeah, local. It's 6 ABC. So it's Action News here in Philadelphia. And I'll just read it right off for our audio listeners. Quote: "It took Holocaust survivor Ernie Gross over 60 years to find Don Greenbaum, one of the U.S. soldiers who liberated the Dachau concentration camp on April 29th, 1945.
Amazing.
And said Ernie Gross, my number was 71,366. He lost his parents and 3 siblings before he was freed. When I was in the camp, I made a promise. I want to be here tomorrow." End quote. I just was amazed at when you found this story.
He found him. That's the coolest part. Like he found someone that liberated him.
in
And somebody
1945.
spent 60 years doing it. I'm so glad they're friends. The whole point of the article will be in the show notes.
Yep.
They're friends and they talk.
Yep.
And it's just it's amazing that that's like you see it go through for 60 years. Like, it's just awesome. And the fact that he gets to be friends with
product of a bygone generation, John. I mean, that back then was, you're talking, that was the reason why the US eventually got into World War II. It took a little bit of time.
Absolutely.
Once Japan attacked us, it was over.
Yep.
It was over. And then you have D-Day, and the next thing you know, the war was over. Other than big battles, Battle of the Bulge, liberating people. Yeah.
Still great stories being told from that whole time in history. It's just it's a good fun, just it's just a good happy piece. Like, just to smile. Like, they're friends, and he has he's able to close just a little bit of his past because he has a friend that fought for him.
Yeah, and liberated him
60 years
all
later.
those years ago. Yeah, 60 years later.
That knows how bad it was, because history is always they say history is what is the quote? I'm sorry. It always repeats itself because you forget about it.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to say.
Danger is you forget about history.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Once you turn your back on history, it's darned to repeat itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's something that I think that's something that we like to do, is to bring up these generations, because they fought for our freedoms.
Yeah.
Not that we don't live a terrible life because they fought for our freedoms this way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always just good. Like, he has someone that can relate to him.
Yeah.
That's just a great story.
One of the great quotes that I've had the privilege of hearing from a very wise old man. You and I both know, of course, we stand on the shoulders of giants, and those two men are giants, John.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's like, if it wasn't for that sacrifice, that's just such a great reminder of that entire generation, what they've done, what they went through together, what they experienced together, and the fact that they were able to reunite after 60 years of trying to find a guy.
And they see it from two different sides. Which
yes.
Is even the perspective angle that these two have in a conversation is amazing.
Oh,
because he was in the camp that was liberated.
Wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall? What that story must have been like, just to sit, and maybe you're on a park bench somewhere and you hear them talking about that.
It would be amazing. And hopefully they're not talking about their trauma. Hopefully they're talking about, whatever. But it's just awesome that
they're catching up or whatever.
Yeah. 60 years. Wow. It's just crazy.
That's just awesome.
You got so much to learn.
Exactly.
Like, you liberated your camp 60 years ago. Exactly. It's just good. I'm glad that that he was there to liberate the camp, and B, I'm glad that the story's here for us to kind of even bring, the Holocaust was terrible.
Yeah.
War is terrible.
Yeah. But out of the evil, right?
Good always is the good.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Great story.
We try to push on all the time.
Yeah. So that wraps up episode 26.
Yes.
Of Two Noobs Talking.
Little Chase Utley action.
Halfway through a year with you, John. As always, great to do it with you, bud. And let's do our shameless plugs, because why not?
Why not?
Let's do it.
Because we're good at it.
We're good at it.
I don't even know where to start. Okay.
Yeah. We're so good at it, we forgot about it. No,
yes. Socials. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Clapper, and TikTok. Do our short videos to try to drag you over to YouTube.
Absolutely. And of course, like on the video side, YouTube. We're not on BitChute anymore. We're not on Rumble anymore, I don't think. But on YouTube, we are definitely there. Down there in the lower right-hand corner, see that subscribe button? Click that darn button. Click it. Like our videos, share our videos. We really appreciate it. It helps get the word out for sure.
Absolutely. And audio side, we are on Apple Podcast, Spotify, it sucks. iHeartRadio, other things that say it on the screen. We're anywhere. You can just search us Two Noobs Talking 215-512 podcast, and you can find us on the internet.
Awesome. And then of course our show notes, because there wasn't just one page, there were two pages, baby. So you can find those TwoNoobsTalking.wordpress.com. And again, if you enter in your email address in the box below and hit enter, the show notes appear in your inbox the very next day. Bam! How about that for service?
Exactly.
John, that wraps up episode 26 of Two Noobs Talking. Got anything final to say, bud?
Matt, don't go down the rabbit hole.
So glad you do that for me, bud. Talk to y'all next week. Take care.